This is Dina Maria of Faith Moments, and I always like to go on retreat. I love to schedule great events and promote great things coming up. And this summertime, it takes me to Vancouver, Washington at Esther Short Park, where the summertime retreat, the Vancouver Wine and Jazz Festival is going on. My friend Michael Kissinger, who is both the founder and artistic director of this amazing festival, is with us today to talk more about this great opportunity to bring the arts with community, with music. Michael, it's going to be a great year, 2024, your 24th year of this festival. Welcome this morning. Great to have you with us.
Good to be here with you. 24 years. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing to see the progress. And I want to hear a little bit about, what was the idea early on, 1998, the first festival? How did you get the idea of the festival and how to put these different components together?
Well, I was performing in Italy at the Spoleto Music Festival. I was a graduate student at the time, and I was performing in this amazing music festival. It's still going around, still going on. It's one of the most important festivals in Europe. But it had opera and chamber music and orchestra and jazz, dance, theater, ballet. It had everything. And while I was there, I just kept thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool if I could create something like this some point in the future? That would just be really fun to be able to create your own thing and have your own music and kind of envision this in a way that would just incorporate great music and art and food and wine and all this. So that's kind of the genesis of this. And we started it in 1998, in downtown Vancouver. And at the time, downtown Vancouver, there was nothing. I mean, people who come here now and they see the waterfront and condos and all the park, Esther Short Park and all that, they don't realize that back in the early 90s and actually until 2000, almost 1998, 99, 2000, Esther Short Park was just in complete disrepair. There was no waterfront. There was none of that, So we did the first festival on the gravel parking lot that was the former site, or the site of the former Lucky Lager beer factory. And so we produced it there on it was all gravel, we had brought in chairs. And the next year, Esther Short Park was not renovated. Of course, it was still under construction. So I was able to get grass from, at the time it was PGE Park, and they were doing the Women's World Soccer Tournament at the PGE Park. And so I called those guys and said, hey, what are you going to do with that grass? Afterwards, I said, well, I don't know. We're going to take it back down to JB Instant Lawn. They grind it up and, put it out in the fields. And I said, well, could we get that grass? And the guy goes, well, sure. I don't see why not. So they brought all this grass over. It was like soccer grass. It was like not your regular grass, but it was like this commercial grade for, athletic field. And anyway, they brought it over in a big flatbed truck and we laid it out in strips, like it was 50-foot strips. And we covered half of that park or half of that block, that gravel lot with grass. And I knew the fire chief at the time. So I called him and he brought down a hook and ladder and watered the grass. And it actually started growing over the next week, grass was growing. Anyway, we created this park on this gravel lot. And so because the park across the street wasn't renovated. Well, by the third year, Esther Short Park was completed and we moved into the park. And so we've had that park ever since. And then of course, all of the waterfront and everything has grown up around us. The Hilton is there, convention center. Hilton is one of our big sponsors. But we were committed to doing this in downtown Vancouver from the very beginning. So I said, well, we're going to do it on that gravel lot because we're committed to doing it downtown. And so we spent 2 years kind of in the wilderness before we actually moved into the park. But that's where it came from. It came from me performing in the Spoleto Festival Orchestra, Spoleto Festival in Italy, and I remember being there in this little town with thousands and thousands of people from all over Europe. And I remember thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool to create a a music festival like this.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from.
Oh my, humble beginnings. This is,
Yeah.
this is when God's involved, because it's like it's not about me, but
No.
you start with a little idea, a little vision, and then as we glorify God with our gifts, Michael,
Yeah.
amazing things happen out of nowhere. And
Well, I
right?
remember it's funny you say that because I remember we had an amazing city council at that time. They were just visionary people, and this incredible city manager. And I remember this good friend of mine, one of my dear friends, Dan Tonkovich. He was on city council. He was a mayor pro tem at the time. And I laid this idea out for him and he said, wow, that's great. Let's go see city manager. And he said, put a plan together. I said, okay. So we went to see the city manager and I had a 1 page, like a little white paper, a 1 page piece of paper with the plan. And I told the city manager about what we envisioned. And he said, well, do you have a business plan? I said, yeah, here it is. He goes, this is it? I go, yeah, it's going to be great. He said, okay, let's do it.
Let's
And
do it.
yeah, it was like business plan. Well, here it is. I kind of sketched out a few things on this piece of paper and we're going to have great jazz and blues and wine and art and food and music. It's going to be awesome. And he went, okay, let's do it.
Absolutely. And the Vancouver Wine and Jazz Festival has grown year after year. Again, 2024, the 24th year, Esther Short Park. It's a beautiful location, as you said. It's grown. And I think events like this, Michael, are why Vancouver is growing. Why are tourists? Nearly 70% of your attendees are coming way outside of Southwest Washington. You're bringing in tourism, you're bringing in businesses, you're building local businesses. That's what I love is it's a fun event with all sorts of beauty, but it supports the stability of our community, our families right here.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's part of it is that you're creating a cultural tourism event, really is what it is, because last year, we tracked our attendees and we know that with advance tickets, we can look and see where people are coming from. When people come to the gate, we don't know where they're coming from, but we tracked people that attended from 16 states and Canada, and people traveled from greater than 50 miles from 77 different cities. So that's people traveling from all over. I mean, from Tri-Cities and Spokane and Seattle, Eugene, Bend, Idaho, all over Oregon, Washington, Southern Oregon, up in California. We've got people coming from, and they're flying in. They come in from. They may be here on business or traveling or visiting, and it's like you or I, if we were going somewhere, if we were in Phoenix, for visiting relatives, we'd say, what's going on this weekend? Oh, they have a huge balloon festival or whatever, and so you've got people that you're capturing that are either traveling on business or they're here visiting or they come specifically. I mean, we have people, we have a partnership with WDNA Miami, which is a big jazz station in Miami, and they have 9 people that are flying out to attend the festival this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And it's become one of the top in the area in terms of a cultural festival, a jazz festival of its kind. I mean, I think part of your mission has been, to really bring people together, and you're accomplishing that.
Right. That's part of what we want to do is that we want to serve our community, our Southwest, our community is Southwest Washington, Vancouver, Southwest Washington, but our greater community is Portland and kind of, if you put a compass in Vancouver and you sort of drew a 200-mile circle, well, that's our community because we have people that are really traveling from all over this region and from outside. And part of what our goal is to kind of spread and share great music. That jazz and blues is part of our American culture. It's unique to American music, and people need to know about it, understand it, and love it. It's funny because I'll have people, I don't really like jazz, but I like so and so. They'll say, well, I see Elvin Bishop. He's not jazz, and I'll say, what do you mean? What are you talking about? The roots of jazz are in the spiritual. It's in gospel music. It's in folk music. It's in Appalachian hillbilly, bluegrass music. It's in Cubano music and the African diaspora with the rhythms. It's European classical music with form and structure and harmony. I mean, it's all of these things that come together, and we blend it in America with our spirituals, with our blues, with our ragtime, with our folk music. We blend all that together, and it's become something uniquely American. So it's important for us to share that, to educate people, and inevitably people come to the festival and they go, "Wow, I didn't know I love jazz. I love jazz."
Yeah.
And it's the same with art. We know we've got 20 artists, fine artists that are here. It's important for us to have those artists here, and wine is it's a enological art form, let's say. It's not something that you can just sort of put in your garden and grow. You can't do that. I mean, it takes years of cultivation and deep knowledge about enology and viniculture for people to grow grapes and then to harvest them and then to turn them into a premium wine. It's a real art form. It's a craft. So to put all that together, I think is something that is really powerful for us to be able to do.
Yeah. Michael Kissinger here, artistic director and founder of the Vancouver Wine and Jazz Festival. The 3-day event is August 23, 24, and 25. Michael, I want to get into some of the different performers that you're going to bring from local to throughout the whole country, but we are coming up to a break. Stay with me and we'll continue our conversation and unpack more of this summertime music retreat in the next half hour.